Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tradition Kitchens. We are so excited to be here with Shera of Tempo-yak Cooking. Thanks so much for everyone dialing in. Want to invite you to turn on your cameras and introduce yourself. We have a chat where everyone can let us know where you're calling in from. We'd love to meet you. Hopefully you are muted. If you are not, please mute yourself because we can hear some background noise and we want to just make sure we only hear the folks who are joining us. So I'm gonna, oh.
For example, we have the standard size my pills.
Hold on, everyone. I'm gonna actually try to find who is chatty.
Regularly,
See if I can mute you.
just $29.98.
Sounds like a commercial. I think I got you quiet. All right, Margaret, hello from Boston. Amanda from Toronto. Great to have you here. I see, is it Lislyn? Can I ask you to unmute and introduce yourself?
Okay, you just registered for a cooking class.
No, this is a free one.
Hi, I'm Islyn. I'm from Indianapolis.
Welcome. Are you cooking along with us today?
Oh, absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. We're very excited to have you. Thank you. Thank you. We are doing our kitchen cam, which is a fun way for everyone to get to know each other in the class. So if you haven't had a chance to yet introduce yourself in the chat box, we'd love to welcome you. Looks like we have Washington, Philadelphia, Virginia. We have folks from all over the world at our classes, and our teacher is coming to us live from outside London, and we're going to learn more about where she is and her cooking story. We have about 35 folks on the line. We're expecting triple that, so we'll give everyone a little bit of time to log in and get ready this morning or this evening or this afternoon, depending on where you're calling in from. So I'm just looking around on the kitchen cam and looks like we don't have many people on video, which is always such a bummer because it's great to see you all. So if you're comfortable, please turn on your video. I see Dina on video. If you'd like to unmute and introduce yourself, we'd love to meet you.
Hi, I'm ready to cook. I'm also attending a church meeting right now, so
Nice.
But I have my ingredients ready.
All right, and remind us where you're calling in from.
Iowa City, Iowa.
Wonderful. Great to have you again. Thanks for being here. We are very happy to have people from all around the US, all around the world. We've got a lot of folks from Washington here, which is exciting. Anyone else want to join us on the kitchen cam for a quick intro? I'm Julia from Tradition Kitchens. Very thrilled to be here with all of you for our 86th volunteer-led cooking class. Earlier this week, we published a blog post with our friends at Yum Day about what it's been like to have all of these classes. So, hey, Parul, would you like to introduce yourself? Parul is a former teacher. Tell us what you taught and where you're calling in from.
Hi, I'm calling from DC, Alexandria, Virginia, and I taught a little over a year ago for Indian samosas and aloo bonda for the gluten-free crowd. So I've been doing these classes for a while with Julia. We go way back, and it's always fun to see everybody on here.
Yes, we love having you and your mom, amazing attendees and teachers, kicked off our Indian cooking trend that was most of 2021. Hello, Gita.
She's here slightly off camera.
No worries. So glad to have you both here with us. Anyone else, would you like to introduce yourself? I'm going to look at the chat box. I see Alexis Zakia from Philly. Would you like to come on camera and say hello to everyone? Let us know if you're cooking along. Not quite ready. We've got some camera shy folks today. That's all right. Well, before we officially get started, Shera, maybe a little preview for everyone before we begin. Will you tell us where you are based right now?
Okay. I'm originally from Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur.
I have traveled and lived around, well, almost half of the world. I am now based in the UK. Originally, well, in the last 6 years, I've been living in London. And recently, I have sort of started to set up a kitchen. You know, I have this idea, or always had this idea of a supper club where I can entertain people and expose people the English people or people in the UK to Malaysian food. I mean, Malaysian food is concentrated in London. You know, there's lots of like Korean, Japanese restaurants, Malaysian as well. But I think the rest of the UK, it lacks exposure to Malaysian food. So I'm in the midst of trying to get, you know, it is in the pipeline to get a supper club done out in the countryside, and that's where I am at the moment. So yes, so back to where I'm originally from, in Malaysia. I came here when I was 18, to do my A-levels and university. So I graduated in law, and after getting my law degree, I headed back home to Malaysia. I worked, I would say, from 1993 up till 2007. I used to work in, I never used my law degree, to be honest. I actually went into PR and corporate communications. I used to work in multinational oil and gas. So Petronas, if you've heard of course, Lewis Hamilton drives Mercedes, and it's a joint between Petronas and Mercedes, McLaren. And then I moved to Shell for a very short while, and then I moved to the Middle East. I stayed in the Middle East for about 8 years, and I then moved to the UK in 2015. So I've been here almost 7 years. This is home for me, and I thought, you know, I think in the lockdown, I decided, apart from doing my freelance PR work, I suddenly decided that, you know what, let's make the best out of lockdown. Let's start cooking. At the time, I didn't know that there were lots of people thinking the same, but you know, that didn't stop me. But so 1 year down the road, I started this exactly a year ago, and I'm here.
Wonderful. This was so nice to learn more about your story, and we're going to continue hearing about your path to cooking as we dive into learning from you today in the exciting class. So thanks for the preview, and so grateful for you volunteering your time and teaching with us today. I want to invite everyone who's here. I'm Julia. Welcome from Tradition Kitchens. I want to invite you to join us in our traditional Selfie, which is a Zoom selfie. So all you need to do is flip on your camera, should be on the bottom left of your screen, and we will take our picture together as a community. We love celebrating and learning different cultural foods together. So I'm going to call out a few names. These classes are really about who's here. And so in order to foster a community, we like to see each other. It makes a big difference. So thanks to those of you who are on video, Diane, Alexis, Charles, Peg, Laura, Cheryl, Pearl. Come on, join us. Wendy, we'd love to see you all in our class photo. Looks like we have a few faces. Not as many as I was hoping for, but we'll make it work. All right. For those of you who, all right, Priscilla made my day. Thank you. Okay. I'm gonna, oh, here we go, Peg. This is the best part. I have this on gallery view, so I'm seeing everybody as you're turning on your cameras, which is super exciting. I'm gonna ask you all to look at your camera, and then I'm gonna count us down. 3, 2, 1. Fantastic. Now, hopefully you'll keep those cameras on. And in addition, we would love to welcome others to introduce themselves with the chat box or to turn your cameras on. So we know some folks are cooking along, some are just watching and going to try this dish later. So we're gonna turn the virtual cooking kitchen over to Shera from Tempo-yak. Feel free to ask questions in the chat or unmute. Do keep yourself muted so we don't have too much background noise during class. And looking forward to learning today. Tradition Kitchens is all about building community through cultural cooking classes, all led by volunteers. Some of our teachers are neighbors like all of you. Others have small food businesses and are entrepreneurs like Shera, who we love to support and hope you all will too. So Shera, back to you in the kitchen.
All right. Thank you everyone for coming on this Zoom cooking class and devoting some of your time on a Sunday evening. Oh, sorry, that's my evening. It's probably what, lunchtime for you? Yeah, afternoon. Anyway, so a bit of background about Malaysia, which I have to explain because Malaysia is a melting pot of three main ethnic groups, which is the Malays like myself, the Chinese, and the Indians. So over the years, our cooking styles have evolved to melt all the three races. And then historically, we have, of course, the Thais who are neighbors north of us. And we had the Portuguese in the 16th century came. I'm not sure whether you know the route where people used to sail from the west to the east to China. So they used to go through the Straits of Malacca, and through the Straits of Malacca, they used to the ships used to stop over in this place called Malacca. So the Portuguese, the Dutch, the Arabs, they were all tradesmen. So they used to stop over, and of course, the Portuguese, the Dutch, and the British much later on before independence, they were all in Malaysia. So our cooking is a symphony of all the tastes of all these influence, and therefore has created a very complex and diverse food in Malaysia. And then if you look at the map, we have close proximity to Indonesia as well. So and there's been historical migration from Indonesia. So we have the Indonesian, the Indians, the Sri Lankans, the Chinese. So our cooking is very different. I mean, you know, if you try a Chinese takeaway in the US, it'd probably be different from the Chinese takeaway in the UK and in Malaysia as well. But anyway, so what we're cooking today is a dish which was taught to me by my mother. Now, my mother has, she comes from a state called Negeri Sembilan, which is a state very close to Kuala Lumpur, which is the capital. Now, this state was a migration of a lot of Indonesians. So today's dish has actually got Indonesian influence to it. And it's very simple. Can I start now? Yeah, okay.
Yes,
So,
let's begin.
okay, so turmeric. I'll start with turmeric.
And just a quick announcement. I'm going to be spotlighting both Shera and her cooking. So if you have a view, you can be on speaker view and you'll be able to see both her and her dish. Go ahead.
Okay. So main ingredient is turmeric. You have to be very careful with turmeric because it makes everything yellow. So you've got this white tabletop here. It's don't get any of the turmeric on there. But your fingers, if you've got gloves, well and good. But if not, mine's all going to get yellow. So the best way to peel turmeric is to use the back of a spoon, because if you use a knife, it would cut too deeply, and you might lose a lot of the meat of the turmeric. So this is what I do. And I'm going to get all my fingers yellow. Okay. Is it difficult to get turmeric in the US, Julia?
You know, I have never seen a turmeric root, so I'm fascinated right now. I usually get it ground up in spices. How about anyone
Oh.
else?
Oh, okay. It's like ginger,
found
isn't it?
I found it in Iowa City. I went to our local co-op natural food store. It's like a local store. I got it.
Ah,
It's even organic.
wow. I actually had to I think in London there are many Asian supermarkets, so it's not a problem in London. But in view of this class, I have been helicoptering or circulating the nearby supermarkets. I couldn't find it, so last week I happened to go to London to meet my children for lunch. And grab like 3 packets of them. So I'm going to freeze them because it's so difficult to get it in the countryside. So I'm going to cut off all these difficult bits.
No worries. We're getting a lot of guidance from everybody saying that they have found it in their local stores in the US.
Wow.
And tell us your technique. How are you peel it with a peeler and then you slice it with a knife?
Yeah, so what I'm going to do is, after I've got all the skin off, which is like now, I'm going to, hang on, I'm going to slice it, and then I'm going to put it in the mortar and pestle. So, right, so all of that goes into the mortar and pestle. Right. I know people in the West, or most people I've met in the UK, they do this motion, which in Asia we don't. We just bash everything up like this. Very noisy, but that's how we do it. Have to get them, you know, like they're all mashed up. And then the 6 bird eye chilies in one by one. If you've got an apron, put it on, because like I said, the turmeric will start flying everywhere, and you don't want to get, least you want to get, what you don't want to get is your white tops stained with turmeric. So ideally, green bird eye chilies. But as I was saying to Julia before we started, sometimes it's not hot enough. So if you're a substitute, sorry, I saw that chat. A substitute, well, you can use red chilies, you know, big red chilies, which are common, but bird eye chilies are the ones that are very spicy. I think the Thais use it a lot, and that's, yeah, Thai bird, well, in some places then known as Thai bird chilies. So that's done. I've got these on standby because if it's not spicy enough for me, I'm going to add it in later. But for the moment, I'm just going to see how these 6 green bird eye chilies work. Right. So leave that for a moment. Next is the tomatoes. Oh, I forgot that bit. Sorry.
So Shera, question for you. If someone's mortar might be too small for all their turmeric, could they use a blender to crush it up?
You could, but because it's only such a small amount, unless you got those small, really small blenders, you know, that, I don't know, is it oh God, what do you call it? It's not the big, sometimes it comes with another attachment for a small quantity.
Here.
Yeah. Yeah, if
Okay.
you've got a small one, then that's fine. Yeah. Yeah. Because the amount is very tiny. I mean, for it to go into a big blender. So yeah. Now next, the tomatoes, you can chop them roughly. You know, you can, it doesn't matter whether you want them in eighths or quarters or whatever. So I just slice them in whatever way, because when they cook, they're all just going to disappear and you know, and be mushy. The reason why I use tomatoes is because I find it difficult to find tamarind slices. These are frozen tamarind slices. I'm not sure whether you get it here in the US, but in the UK, as I said, it's quite difficult unless you go to London. And therefore, I always keep some in the freezer. But for today, I'm not going to use it, but I just wanted to show you what tamarind slices are like. So tomatoes chopped roughly. I need to get a little bone. These in. Now, if you were vegetarian, you could, I've just put this, I'm not going to put in today, but you could use eggplants, aubergines, and again, chop them in chunks. And last week, I think Nora's tempeh, the fermented soybeans, like I said, you could use that instead of chicken. You can use the aubergine, tempeh, or potatoes, and long beans or green beans. That's the vegetarian version. Right, so done that. Now the lemongrass, what you do is you cut off. These bits are actually not, okay, hang on. You're using this tamarind paste, are you? Sorry, I just saw a chat.
Yeah, I'm looking for Renee's question, but go ahead.
Yeah. You could traditionally, no, but I took this out just to show in case you do have it. I would say a teaspoon. The dish just needs to be a little bit sour. I was just going to say that in Malay cooking, there's this concept called agak-agak. Now, agak-agak is, how would I say, I've given you a recipe because that's how I've tried to make it as simple as possible for, maybe, should I say, the Western people who are interested. But traditionally, we never have measurements. Our cooking isn't like the Western way where potatoes go in for 45 minutes, then the meat goes in for this much amount of time, or this amount of salt or sugar. We don't. Agak-agak is estimating. It's an estimation, and it only comes with experience. Once you know how Asian food tastes, you realize that there's a good balance of salt, sugar, and sourness. So, and I think the Thais as well have that with their fish sauce, and then their yeah, with this tamarind paste. So that's how am I going to say? It comes with experience. So the amount of quantity, you can't tell what the measurements are. But as I said, for this reason, for my cooking classes, I've tried my best to measure things as what's required. So, and don't worry, you know, it's not like baking where flour and butter needs to be exact for things to rise. In Malay cooking, it could be anything. If you accidentally put too much salt, you can water it down with water, or you could balance it out with more sugar. So that's how Malay cooking is, and that's what agar-agar is all about. Yeah. So yeah, so with the lemongrass, we only want this part, the one towards the white. This is actually just, it will turn into it. If you cook it, it will turn in, it's like husk. It just gets in the way of your cooking. Yeah, so I'm gonna cut that off. I know I've put in the recipe 1 lemongrass. That's assuming you've got a really big lemongrass, but I like a lot of lemongrass because it's got a very nice fragrance and flavor to it. Now, what you do with the lemongrass is, I'm going to take my pestle and I'm going to bash. So the lemongrass still is intact. Like I said to you, if you cook it and if you slice it, you will have husks in your cooking. So I just want the flavor and the fragrance. So you just like that. That's it. I'm going to put that there. And yes, and now we can start. Right, coconut milk. You've got a tin with you. I'm going to just open mine. Okay. Oops. And I'm going to give it a bit of stir. In Malaysia, you can actually go to the pasar, which is the market, the wet market, and you can just get people to squeeze fresh coconut milk. But over here, unfortunately, I have to depend on, supermarket or tinned coconut milk, which is sold in supermarket. So, oh, this is, I need to stir it because the cream is being segregated from the, okay. So stir it so it all is mixed up properly. Whoops. Oh, this one's very clumpy. Okay, try my best.
And Shera, can you remind us how much coconut milk?
Right. A whole tin of this would be, I think is it 200 ml? No, 400 ml. So in my first part of the cooking, I'm only going to use half. I always like the other half to be put at the end, because then it makes the dish very creamy. So,
And for those who are US based, that's about 13 ounces of coconut milk. So depending on your tin can. And is there a difference between the coconut milk you have right there or a thicker one? Any preference or recommendations?
I couldn't get, I think there's a Thai brand, which I think is exported very widely in around the world. I think it's called, oh God, what's it called? Chongkyo or something like that. But I mean, I think I've tried, I mean, this is just from Sainsbury's, which is probably like your, I don't know, what's your supermarket in the US that's everywhere you have. So they all work fine with me. And the other thing I want to say, like curries, anything cooked, this is my observation, and it might be general knowledge, but anything that's cooked in coconut milk, with coconut milk, tastes better the day after.
Because he said he filled out a.
Oops.
Sorry,
Okay,
just a
so
friendly
I'm gonna
reminder.
put the fire on now. I'm going to put the top on. Okay.
That's some great tips about storing coconut milk and using coconut milk. Thanks everyone for chiming in the chat. And just a friendly reminder to please mute yourself if you are not talking or our teacher, so we don't have background noise.
Right. I mentioned 1 cup of water and half a tin of coconut milk. Okay, I'm going to leave the other half. And the turmeric and bird's eye chilies that we pounded, just put it in. So you'll see that it's got an orangey color. As it gets hotter, the gravy, it'll get more yellow. I would say it look like fluorescent yellow. Let me just wash my hands. Right. Next, put in the lemongrass and the tomatoes. And you've got your fire quite high, yeah? Okay. Now, I don't know whether you want to cook the rice along, or is it too much for people to concentrate on 2 different things at the same time? Cooking rice is quite fast. It's up to, well, I'm not going to say it's up to you, but I'll do it after. Yeah, then at least we're not having our eyes on 2 different things and get all confused. So you can see as it's getting hotter, the color is getting even more yellow. And as I said, it will become like a fluorescent yellow. Okay. Once it starts boiling, then you can put in your chicken pieces. I've used chicken thighs only because I don't like breast meat, so it's entirely up to you. And the other thing is you can use chicken breast or deboned pieces. That's also up to you. But I find that if you cook chicken on the bone, the broth becomes much more tasty. So that's just, you know, like I say, it's a matter of preference. So mine has started to sort of simmer. Give it a bit more until it's properly boiling, bubbling. You'd be surprised that this dish hasn't got any onions or garlic. When you eat it with rice later, as I said, you'd be very surprised. I had a class and someone said, "Oh, this is amazing because I'm allergic to garlic." And I thought, wow, I've never heard of anyone who's allergic to garlic, but yes, it works. Right, so it's now boiling. I'm going to put in my chicken. And you can see the broth has become really yellow now, and it gets even more yellow.
And you're cooking that at a pretty low flame, is that right?
Sorry, say that again.
Oh, is it on low, medium, high? How are you cooking?
I'm still on high. I'm still on high. Once the chicken's in, and then once it gets, yeah, I would put it on high. So Yeah. Any questions that have come through that you want me to answer while it's cooking?
We know some folks are eager to learn how to make the rice.
Yes, I know.
Ju-
Rice is very tricky.
So we'll get to that afterwards. And
Yeah.
Peg just wants to confirm everything was put in the saucepan before you added the chicken. All of the
Yes.
spices,
Yes.
everything.
Yes. And then wait till everything was, well, it simmered and then it started boiling. Then you put the chicken in. Now, the trick with rice in Asia, everyone has a rice cooker. It's easy. You don't have to keep an eye on it. You just press the button, and then once it cooks, the button comes up and then it keeps warm. Like I said, most Asians will have a rice cooker. I don't, only because I think I don't eat rice very often. And when I do, we don't eat like, I'm not much of a rice eater. So the way I'm going to teach you how to cook rice is without a rice cooker. And I've used my mother's, how do you say, her principle of cooking rice. Whatever your amount of rice is, your water is 1.5 times more than what your rice is. So for example, I've said 2 cups of rice, so which means 3 cups of water. So if it's 4 cups of rice, that means it'll be 4 plus 6 cups of water. So every time you times it by 1.5 to know what amount of water is involved. And we cook rice without draining off water. I know when I came here to school, and I was in a boarding school, and my house mistress, whenever she cooked rice, she used to put rice, was brown rice, all sorts of rice, but she would put lots and lots of water, and then she'll say, "Oh, it's cooked now," and then she'll take a sieve and she'll drain off the rest of the water. But in Asia, we don't cook rice that way. Whatever is the amount of water, it gets absorbed and the rice would be just nice. So I'll show you that later. So now the chicken is boiling. The pot is boiling. The chicken will take time to cook. If you've got cafe lime leaves, that goes as well, but it's not traditionally used in this dish. But if you know cafe lime leaves, it has a very nice smell, and I like putting it in sometimes. It all depends on what I feel like. So if you do have, it goes as well. So you can see the tomatoes have now sort of cooked and disintegrated. Now, if I always forget this, is your salt. So again, I have put a measurement of salt in the recipe, but it's all about taste. So as I go along, you'll see that I'll keep tasting whether there's enough salt. Oh, it's very hot. I got the right chilies then this time. So more salt. Now in Asia, when we eat rice, we don't eat rice with just one dish. We have a meat dish and then we have a vegetable dish. So if those of you who went to Nora's class last week, eating her tempeh, she cooked tempeh with, was it dried anchovies? I can't remember now. But she had, which she said, you know, it can be eaten as a snack, it can be eaten with rice. So this dish And finally, what she cooked last week was also Indonesian influence. It's also where my mother's forefathers used to come from. They would eat what Nora did last week with this and rice, and it's really nice. So just have a taste again.
And Shera, I just want to back up a little bit, a couple of
Yeah.
questions.
Okay.
When you were reviewing the ingredients, you had mentioned a few ones. So you said, before you said salt, do you happen to remember what you had mentioned in terms of the spices as you were reviewing what goes into the pot?
Oh, okay. You mean the order of what I put in the pot from the start?
Yeah.
Okay. It was first 1 cup of water, and then half a tin, which is 200 ml of coconut milk,
Mm-hmm.
and then the pounded turmeric and bird's eye chilies, and then the lemongrass, the tomatoes, and you let them all boil. Once
Got
it
it.
starts boiling, then you put the chicken pieces in.
Perfect. And then it looks like you had also mentioned the lime leaf as well.
Yes. Yeah, you could put lime leaves later on. There's no hard and fast rule to the lime leaves, because it's actually not for flavor. It's more it's sort of flavor but fragrance.
Okay.
It's like curry leaves, yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, you
Sounds
don't put curry leaves in here, but lime leaves would be good. Yeah.
very nice. Okay. And then a few other questions as you're stirring.
Yeah.
Vila, if you want to unmute, I'm having trouble interpreting your question about texture. So if you want to ask that, we can get to it. And then how about for the vegetarians? Is eggplants a good substitute, and how much?
Oh, it's entirely up to you, honestly. You know, if you like egg, it does not, however much eggplant or potatoes or whatever, does not change the texture of the broth. So, you know, like for me, say my children don't like eggplants too much, but I do, I'll put just enough for myself. And if they like tempeh more, I'll put more tempeh. It doesn't, it's all a matter of preference. And then if you want more broth, if you find that, you know, it's too dry, you just add more coconut milk and water. You know, like I said, Asian cooking is very simple. And that's where, like I said to you, it's all about estimating. There's no exact amount that you need. It's the method that is important. Like I said, you know, it's with experience. When you fry, I mean, obviously today we're not, there's no frying involved, but when you fry chilies, you fry curry powder, it needs, my mother always said that you need to fry it to the point where the chilies and or curry powder or onions start to separate from the oil. Otherwise, there's that raw taste, and that raw taste, if you don't get it right, it will carry through right to the end, and it's not as delicious. So, so yeah, it's entirely up to you. You know, you want to put more, you don't want to put eggplants, it's entirely up to you as well. You want to use, like this, I've got chicken. Sometimes I put potatoes, sometimes I don't. So, you know, like I said, there's no hard and fast rule to it. Yeah. Now, if you can check, I mean, the chicken thighs that I have are quite thick. I need to sort of prod in to see whether the insides are cooked. And once they are, that means, you know, I can switch off. I can switch off the I turn the hob off. Yeah, mine looks cooked. I hope everyone else's is okay. You can either, I think chicken, I saw a chat a question just now about how the Chinese cook chicken. They don't cook their chicken for very long. Yeah, I know how the Chinese cook. You know, they steam. They're very what's the word? They're very meticulous when it comes to chicken. Whereas in Malay cooking, if you know rendang, I don't know whether you know rendang, that's cooked for 8 hours. That's because, you know, they keep putting coconut milk over and over and over again until the coconut milk becomes, it's not solid, but it creates a texture that thickens the whole dish. So that is rendang. So like I said, you know, in Malay cooking, it's not like the Chinese where you think that overcooking the chicken spoils it. It's all different. Anyway, so that's my chicken done. I'm going to pour. I like to pour the rest of my coconut milk towards the end. So finish all the rest in your, and let it start to boil again, and then switch it off. I think this is our version of Thai green curry. Thai green curry probably has more spices in it. I'm not sure what. I think maybe more lemongrass. Sorry?
No, we just had a little feedback from someone. What about people? Do you ever substitute anything besides chicken, like pork or?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't eat pork, so I wouldn't know. But fish. Now, if you deal with fish or even calamari, squid, or prawns, you know, really big prawns, we call king prawns, or anything as big or bigger than king prawns, you put them right at the end because you don't want it to overcook. And you know that like squid or calamari, if it goes beyond, it will become tough as leather. So like I said, anything that's seafood based, you would only put it in when the broth was boiling, and you probably put it a couple of minutes really. Otherwise you lose the whole taste of these nice seafood, you know, items. So yes, you can do fish, you can do squid, you can do prawns. Like I said, pork, I'm guessing it will be the same concept as, and actually beef as well, you can do it. But like I said, you know, you don't want to overcook it because then it becomes tough. Then it takes away the beauty of it. Right. So.
And I'm just going to chime in and remind everyone, just in terms of our community standards with Tradition Kitchens, as you ask questions in the chat, just please be respectful of all different cultures and customs and be patient with us as we're not able to get to every question because it will delay us too much. So I am going to have to move us forward in some ways. And also, if you do have questions, please keep them in the group chat. A few of you are messaging me directly, which is great, but it's hard for me to keep track of everything on the back end. So if I don't get back to you, please note that. And then one last final thing is that all of the ingredients are listed on our registration page, as well as the reminder email you received and the link I just put in the chat. So if you have any ingredients questions, please consult that list. Back to you, Shera.
All right. So I'm going to take it off. My chicken is cooked. Now I'm going to put I'm going to put my rice on. So I use basmati rice. I know in Asia we use jasmine rice or Thai fragrant rice. Right. So the amount of water and rice as per the recipe, that's what is in the pot. Now, how I cook, or was taught how to cook rice here without a rice cooker, is to put it up on high initially. Okay, so you'll see the water starting to boil and starts to recede. once the water recedes down to the level of the surface of the rice, I will slow it down and I will put the lid on top of the saucepan. And then that way, the rice becomes nice and fluffy. We'll go through it later. There was something I was going to say. Yeah, I'm happy for you to ask questions if you have access to my email or Instagram or whatever. I'm happy to take those questions later offline. So yes, so back to cooking rice. So like I said to you, whatever amount of rice you use, the amount of water is multiplied by 1.5. So I've used 2 cups here, and therefore 3 cups, 2 cups of rice and 3 cups of water. Now, the fire is on high at the moment, and the water will start boiling. Once it boils, the water, as I said, will get less and less until you can only see the top surface of the rice. And I will put the lid on. You know, when I ran classes here, I've had people in London who've actually asked me to go and take them shopping in an Asian supermarket. I think a lot of people are just curious to know what is being sold in the Asian supermarket. They want to buy things, but they don't know how to use it. So that's been an offshoot from my class. So I've had, you know, groups of ladies who say, you know, like, what's tamarind? How do you use it? Or how do you use certain herbs and whatever, you know? So yeah, I quite enjoy that, taking some ladies to show them, and they're very inquisitive. So all sorts of questions come from, and the supermarkets are also happy when I come, because that means that they know I'm you know, not educating, but you know, getting people to know what an Asian supermarket is, you know, what they sell and how to use things. So yes.
That sounds quite fun. I would love if we were closer to follow you around a supermarket.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I know everything, because in an Asian supermarket, you've got things from Vietnam, you've got things from Korea. I myself probably don't know half the things there, but you know, yeah, but I spend so much time in the supermarket as well, you know, asking people. And I've got a Korean friend as well. She started a kimchi business, and she sends letterbox kimchi to people, so which is great. And she's been invited to cook even near the pub near her house.
Wow, that sounds so cool.
Because as I say, in London, you can get everything. You have Koreans every nook and corner, Korean restaurant, Japanese, but outside of London, people don't know. The Thais, yeah, I think there was 10 years ago, I think they started to introduce Thai food in pubs. So I think a lot of Thai chefs were sort of engaged in pubs and have, but other than Thai, Koreans in the last couple of years, but you know, there's so many things. Actually, when I came here at school, there was only a Chinese or Indian takeaway. There was hardly any Asian supermarkets unless you went to central London in Chinatown. But now it's just everywhere, you know, which is good, because I think the English palate has changed, because they want, you know, they want to taste these things, because I think people are more well-traveled now. So yeah.
Wow, fascinating. I love hearing about all the cultural infusions into daily life. Speaking of stories, I was wondering, as this is cooking, can you talk to us about rice and the meaning that it has in your life? Maybe any influences, your mother. I think you had mentioned this to me before we had class.
The rice.
Yes.
Yeah,
No?
rice is a staple in Asia. We've got, you remember when Na from Hoi, is it Hoi An?
Yes, yes, no.
Yes, I would love to do what she did. Take the camera out to the paddy fields, to the was it a river? I can't remember, but it was like being in Vietnam, you know. As I said, I'm in the countryside. It's dark. I can't show you, but behind the house is where the sheep is. Of course, in the winter, they're not out there yet, but but rice is a staple, just like how I think the English with potatoes, it's something you eat to accompany with whatever meats that you're having. So rice is, it's everyone, you know, Asian. I don't know what country in Asia doesn't eat rice. It's you eat rice with everything. So on its own, it's tasteless, of course, but it's, I suppose, the source of carbohydrate. So yeah, so sorry. So it's now boiling. You can see it's bubbling. And you just let it bubble until the water just disappears. And you keep the fire on high. Yeah, so rice, what else was I going to say about rice? The Indonesians, we have rice. There must, you know, when we cook and eat a meal with rice, there must always be one dish which is a meat and then a vegetable. There could be fried fish in turmeric and salt. Or there could be raw. We have lots of raw vegetables there. It gives an umami flavor, and we have a chili dip, which I think everyone claims in Asia. They have a different version of theirs. So the Indonesians will have a sambal, the Indians will have a sambal, I'm not sure whether the Chinese have a sambal. They'll have chili oil. So sambal is something with, we use dried shrimp paste, which we call belacan. It's got a very pongy smell, but it's delicious when you dip, like, you know, raw cucumber, or what else do we use? There are a few other vegetables which are local to us, but I don't think I've seen it in other countries. Right, so you can see the water has disappeared now, and it's gone down. The rice is still wet, but now I would put the flame down, and I will cover it. Now this will cook the rice further and fluff it up. I'd say maybe another 5 minutes, and until you see that you will hear no sound of water anymore. Like now it's still, you can still hear the gurgling sound of water, which is beneath the rice. But at some point, that the water sound will disappear, and that's when you switch off the hob off. And I would still keep the lid on. It will be warm. I would give it 15 minutes after you've turned the hob off before you eat. Oops. Okay, sorry about that.
I have a question. Do you ever add the coconut milk to the rice to give it a coconut flavor?
That's a different version of
Okay.
rice. Yeah, we have this rice, this rice meal called nasi lemak. Nasi is rice, N-A-S-I. When we put coconut milk, it's when we make nasi lemak. Nasi lemak is just like what I did just now, but instead of water, I would half water and half coconut milk, and a pinch of salt, and cook it the same way as I did just now. Now, it's a fragrant kind of rice where you put, I don't know if you know pandanus leaf. It's another, I would say, something like, it doesn't take the same shape as a lime leaf, but it has the same function to give a nice smell. So pandanus leaf is, people will tie it up and put it in the rice when it's cooking. And then towards the end, I think my grandmother, different people do it differently. My grandmother used to julienne ginger, and then once the rice is cooked, she will put the julienne the ginger in there. So again, it's about smell and a little bit of taste, I guess, a gingery taste. So yes, I'm not sure of any other countries around Malaysia that cook rice with coconut milk. But as I said, yes, there is a meal that's called nasi lemak, which is served with chilies, a sambal chili with dried anchovies. I'm not sure whether Nora actually showed, I think she did say about dried anchovies, didn't she? They're very crispy, tiny little fish. Actually, I can show you. It's in my cupboard here. So this is dried anchovies. They're a bit like,
Just looks like pasta.
no, as you can see, I'll take it out. It's tiny little fish which is dried. Hang on. Yeah, it does look like pasta.
I see it now.
Yeah, it's very salty, but very Moorish, very addictive as a snack. It's like as if you're eating peanuts. I mean, people who really like salty stuff. So in that coconut milk rice, as I said to you, we serve it with fried anchovies, with chili sambal, raw cucumber, and hard-boiled eggs. Is there anything else? And over time, obviously, people have improved it and put fried chicken or chicken rendang or beef rendang, or even prawns with the sambal. All sorts of versions. But yes, that dish is a meticulous dish, which would probably take me about 2 hours to teach, maybe. Yeah. Let me just check. Okay. There's still a sound. You can still hear the wetness of the water. It's still there. It's when it's completely dry, you can hear the sound as if it's quite a hollow sound where there's no water. That's when you switch it off, and then leave the lid for 15 minutes before you want to eat. Because if you eat it immediately, it's still quite compressed, the rice. I think the 15 minutes after is very important. I think for me, the rice fluffs up in the next 15 minutes. Still sound of water. So yes, do you think that was easy? As in the chicken dish?
Let's see what everyone's saying. I'm seeing Peg is nodding her head. Yes. I'm curious. We can do a kitchen cam. I'm going to add a few folks who are cooking to just see if they want to unmute and show us how it's going or how it went. So iPhone, I think you've been cooking. I don't know your name. Dina. Wow, that looks beautiful. So we've got a few folks on screen.
How much chicken thighs were we supposed to put in?
How much chicken
Thighs.
thighs?
I put in whatever my husband bought, but
I used 4. In mine, I used 4. It all depends on how many people are going to eat. But as I said to you, it does not deconstruct the whole dish at all. You'll just have more broth. So sometimes I'll tell you, I'll cheat that I will have extra broth the next day. I actually put in another load of chicken.
Well, it's delicious. It turned out great. It's delicious. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you. But a lot of people say it's amazing because there's no frying, no onions, no garlic. And you know, when you taste it, when you eat it, as I said, if you eat it straight away, it's going to be quite watery. I always like it the day after. Anything with coconut milk is always nicer the day after. But it's still nice anyway.
Wow. Great job, everyone. Anyone else want to show off how it?
I think the most amazing thing about this dish is that you would never have thought you would just have dumped everything in from the start. And for it to come out looking as amazing as it does.
Thanks, Islin.
Wow. One pot meal, Malaysian style.
Yeah.
I love
As
it.
I said to you, if you had Nora's tempeh last week, it would be absolute bliss because you have that sweet and then you have the richness of coconut milk, you have sour, salty, everything all in one. And that's what Asian cooking is all about. It's a balance of all these flavors.
Wonderful. Please let us know in the chat if you're going to make it, if you're excited, or if you already have, what you thought. I just put in there a link for Tempo-yak's Instagram, so you can follow along, tag her in the pictures that you make.
Tag me.
And also we'd love from Tradition Kitchens to see as well. So Shera, can we see how yours turned out? Oh, I see it. There we go. Side by side with the rice.
So I'm not going to open my rice because like I said, I like the heat to contain and fluff up the rice. But 15 minutes later, it'll be fine. So I'm going to put that aside and you will see that the broth thickens as it cools down. So that's why, as I said, if you leave it overnight, it'll be nice and thick. But this is fresh, so it's quite watery. But as I said, still good to eat. And if you have leftover broth for tomorrow, just dump in some more chicken. That's what I do. I always cheat anyway.
Nice.
I batch cook because I can't be spending too much time in the kitchen. Although I also like experimenting. So yes.
Wonderful. Well, this has been amazing. Lots of compliments in the chat. So, and this was like an hour, less than an hour, which is incredible.
Yeah.
So efficient and delicious. We thank you. Now, everyone, Shera has kindly donated her time, as all of our teachers do at Tradition Kitchens, but she also has a small business that she runs. And could you talk a little bit about the classes that you teach, as well as your future supper club? We'd love to hear about it.
Okay. I have to say, what started me doing this was this idea of wanting to set up a supper club in London. I was juggling between my PR work, PR communications in legal services. It just got put on hold. It was just this idea, oh, I'll do this when I'm in the right position or whatever it is. I think lockdown was when I actually signed up for a course, a 10-day course. And so while I was beavering on my laptop, I was listening to this course. And from day 1, day 2, day 3, set up your social media, set up this, set up that. I did it very skeletal. And it was Instagram. I thought, oh, let's just put pictures of my green beans and chicken liver. It's something that my mother taught me when I was little. And I just put up that one picture just so that I got my Instagram account set up because I was following this course. And then I think the next morning, suddenly I had a message saying, would you like to host a cooking show? And I thought, what? I've only got one picture. How do you know I'm good? You know? And this guy just said, you know, is it okay if I call you up? And I said, okay. So I had a chat with him, and he was keen for me to be, because I think he was just setting up his platform, and he had really good people on his platform, as in people who were connected to Ottolenghi, and he wanted to ask me to come on as well. And I thought, wow. Anyway, so he dangled the carrot, said, tonight we've got so and so, Mariam, I can't remember, she was a Jewish lady in North London. She was going to teach oh God, Julia, tell me something Jewish. It's got rice.
Challah, no, that doesn't have rice.
Oh, God, I can't remember, but her Jewish side of things was somewhere in, not Tashkent, not Azerbaijan. Where's Tashkent? I don't know, somewhere in Central Asia.
Ashkenazic.
Probably, yeah. So she was teaching, and she had met Ottolenghi, but anyway, she had a book out as well. And then I thought, you know what? I don't want to shortcut myself. I actually want to learn from scratch how to build my own business. It's easy, you know. It's easy to sort of just jump on the bandwagon with people, you know. Now maybe I would, but at the time I wanted to learn how to set up my own. You know, my children helped me. Now, of course, they're more savvy to set up social media and stuff. So we did, you know, what we have now. So that's the business. I have to say, it's just a hobby for me at the moment. But what I would like to do is, because now I'm out in the countryside, I'd say it's about a 2-hour drive from central London, and it's in a beautiful countryside. And I'd like to bring Malaysian food to people who've never known how nice or how delicious Malaysian food is. And I'd like to, I'll just show you this part of the house. Hang on. This is the idea I have to entertain people for a Malaysian meal. The road in front of the house is a national cycling route. I haven't thought how I'm going to market myself yet, but I want to take up the challenge. So that is, in short, what I'm planning. It's all in the pipeline. But my cooking classes are ongoing. Like I said, you know, it was quite constant last year. I sort of slowed down towards the end of the year until I met Julia, and I'm still focusing on what I have to do in this room here, and, you know, really thinking it, you know, plugging at it every day. But yes, so that's a bit about my business anyway.
I love it. What an amazing story. And you're getting lots of great comments in the chat. Does anyone have a question for Shera? And I'm so glad that we were able to connect as well through Instagram, which is amazing. So just opening up to our audience, if you have any questions, we'd love to invite you to ask at this time. I'm also going to send out, Michelle has a question. Go for it, Michelle. Do you want to unmute? Let's see, Michelle. I'll ask you to, maybe you can unmute. As Michelle is working on that, or maybe she'll put something in the chat. We have a lot of other upcoming classes I just wanted to let everyone know about. So it looks like Michelle is here. Let's see, are you able to unmute and join us with your question? I'm asking you to unmute, so clicking that button. Oh, we can't hear you. On the left-hand side, you should be able to hit unmute. Nope. maybe a little technical difficulty. Maybe you could type your question into the chat if you are not able to unmute, but we see you on video, so we know we're close. I'm hitting ask to unmute. Okay. As we hopefully hear from Michelle in a moment, just a couple of other announcements as we wrap up. We have a few cooking classes coming up. We're going to be diving into Persian Jewish roots with some cooking from Lily. It's our next class, a lentil soup. So looking forward to learning about her traditions. Then we are having a very exciting Valentine's class with Julianne, who is a pastry chef, and we're going to learn how to make bruleed Mexican rice pudding with her. And then finally, later in February, we will be having a National Muffin Day celebration. That is one of my other passions. It's a philanthropic food holiday. So I hope you will learn, and I'll actually be co-teaching that class. So I teach once a year, and you'll have more information, and you'll get a recording of everything so that you can follow along if you can't make it or just want a reminder of what we learned. So those are our final kind of announcements for class. Michelle, were you able to unmute to ask your question?
I've just replied to her. She put it on chat.
Oh, good. Perfect. So she was wondering about the eggplant or potatoes instead of the chicken.
Just like fish, and of course potatoes will take long. Yeah. So you just need to poke it with the fork to know when to stop. Like I said, there's no exact timing for it. It all depends what goes in. But to answer your question, when do you put it in? Once the broth starts to boil. When I put the chicken, it's exactly the same way. But the cooking time will take less or more. Actually, depends on your size of the potatoes. Yeah. Could the chef say the name of the dish in her native language? It is masak lemak ayam cili api. Cili api is bird's eye chilies. So fiery, if you translate it, it's actually fiery chilies, not bird's eye, but because it's more known as bird's eye chilies, so the English name of it, so it's masak lemak. Masak lemak means a rich dish of chicken and fiery chilies. That's what it translates to.
I love it. Thank you. Amazing. Right. Well, this has been wonderful. I think if we don't have any more questions, we can all give Shera a round of applause and appreciation. You could use your favorite emoji reactions virtually as well. And thank you so much for sharing your evening with us. And so many of you, your days, your afternoons. So I love seeing the applause, the party hats. Thanks, Peg. Wow. I have you on gallery view again, so I can see it all. Thank you, Shri. Great to see you here. And you'll get a recording in the next 24 to 48 hours. So thank you again. Bye, everyone. And we hope to see you soon.
Thanks, Julia. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
nice
you.
to meet everyone. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.